Hello and welcome to our viewers here in the United States and all around the world. I'm Lynda Kinkade. Good to have you with us. Coming up on CNN Newsroom, will they win or will they go home? The US women's soccer team playing their first match in the knockout stage of the World Cup. We're live at a New York watch party. Plus,
I consider it a great badge of honor because I'm being indicted for you. I am being indicted for you.
despite the growing list of legal battles, Donald Trump is rallying his supporters with his latest indictment. We'll look at what comes next for the former president. And decision time in Niger as the deadline to reinstate the country's ousted leader is set to expire today. We're live in the region with the latest.
Live from CNN Center, this is CNN Newsroom with Lynda Kinkade.
We begin this hour in Melbourne, Australia, where a clash of heavyweights is now underway at the Women's World Cup. Team USA, the two-time defending champions, are taking on Sweden, the third-ranked team in the world. And this is a do-or-die match for both countries, with a spot in the quarterfinals on the line. CNN sports analyst Christine Brennan joins us now live. Good to have you with us, Christine. This game is just about to kick off, or probably has just kicked off. It is a do-or-die game. And of course, the last time the US and Sweden played, Sweden won 3-0 back in 2021. What needs to happen today for the US team to win?
Lynda, the United States has to be basically a whole different team. The team that we saw during group stage, it wouldn't be good enough to beat Sweden today. So the question is, can the U.S. raise its game? Can the U.S. look more like the U.S. from the past? Can they complete passes? Can they work as one, as a team, as opposed to 11 individuals out there on the field? So lots of questions for the United States, lots of concerns as I sit here in the U.S. Among sports fans, but also I think the sense that the U.S. basically has to play better, because how could they play much worse? And Sweden, such a great opponent, the best soccer nation in women's soccer to never win a World Cup or an Olympic gold medal. U.S. has won 4 of each. So Sweden has been knocking at that door and so deserving. And will they be able to beat the U.S. in a knockout match? Get rid of the U.S. would be the worst ever defeat for the U.S. in a World Cup or Olympics, going out in the round of 16. Never happened before. If that happens, Sweden, of course, will be so joyful. And of course, the U.S. will be disconsolate. But of course, there's 2 hours to go before we know how that turns out.
Yeah, exactly. And it could be a close game, but there, of course, have been plenty of surprises so far during the World Cup. Of course, the U.S. women's team won the last 2 World Cups. Give us more of a sense of their overall performance so far this World Cup.
They really have just looked disjointed. They've looked out of sync, and everyone's trying to figure out, is it the coaching? Is it a certain player? Or is it the fact that 14 of the 23, as you know, Lynda, 14 of the 23 members of the U.S. team, this is their first World Cup. So that great tradition going all the way back to 91 in the first World Cup that the U.S. won, 99, the Rose Bowl, full to capacity, Mia Hamm, Brandi Chastain, Brianna Scurry, Julie Foudy, that tradition of the veterans, well, of course, they're long since retired. And even the people who played with them, and Megan Rapinoe is basically, is the last of that group. And even she just overlapped with a few. And so now when you look at it and you say, moving forward, have the veterans stood up, and Alex Morgan, people like that, and these young players, have they shown a little nerve or some nerves or some kind of a sense that they aren't quite settled? That's the key question. Can the U.S., those veterans like Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe, and of course, Lindsey Horan, the captain, who to me is the key today, can they bring those young veterans up? And if the U.S. were to score a goal first, which obviously would be a wonderful development for the United States, I think that would then raise that confidence level that we have just not seen so far in this tournament.
This has been one of those tournaments with plenty of surprises. From your perspective, who has been the most surprising team, for better or for worse, so far?
Certainly Morocco being able to get through into the knockout stage as in their first time, and Germany going out. Germany number 2 ranked. So right now in this match, it's number 1 U.S. against number 3 Sweden, Germany being out. All the upsets, I think, the younger nations in the sense of it, not being in World Cups for as long as, say, USA and Sweden and others. And I think Japan, they won the World Cup in 2011, and they have looked just so technically efficient, as they usually are. They look like the team to beat. So I'd say there's some surprises in the sense of teams that went home. Another one, a perfect example of how the world has caught up, Lynda. Canada won the Olympic gold medal just 2 years ago, literally 2 years ago, right now in Tokyo. And the other day, they were eliminated by Australia and sent home. So the Olympic gold medalists didn't even make it to the final 16 in this tournament.
And I have to say, I don't feel sorry for Canada. I am very much looking forward to the Australian game on Monday, hoping the Matildas do quite well. But just finally, Christine, I wanted to ask you about overall the tournament. Given so many surprises, is this tournament living up to the hype?
Oh, I think so. I think so, because you want the women's game to be elevated to the point where whenever someone is playing someone else on the field, your Australians obviously playing well and holding up their end of the bargain as the host nation, one of the two hosts. I think that's what we want to see. We want to see countries investing in women's sport. And when they do that around the world, many of these misogynistic, sexist nations in terms of women's football, when they start to invest in the women's game, look what happens. And the fact that there are 32 teams, which is equal to the men's for the first time ever in this World Cup, of course 16 making it through, the idea that you've got equality, that and any day one team can beat another, the upsets that we have seen, extraordinary. And that is an incredible sign of success that even the U.S. players, even if they were to lose today, would be so proud of, because they've been the ones who've been leading the way in many ways with equal pay and fighting for other nations to start to care about women's soccer, women's football. And look at what we now have.
Exactly. There have been some absolutely extraordinary moments so far. Looking forward to see how this game plays out in the coming hours. Christine Brennan, as always, thanks so much.
Lynda, thank you.